Welcome to this online session of Building Materials and Construction 5. Today we'll be seeing about Unit 3 named Finishes. So in this session we'll be seeing about paints, and in that we'll be seeing about the defects of paints, failure in painting, and the process involved in painting a wall. So first we will start with the defects of paints. The first one is blistering. So this defect is caused by the water vapor which is trapped behind the painted surface. The formation of bubbles under the film of paint occurs in this defect. It may occur from various causes such as the imperfect seasoning of timber, excess oil used in the final coat. The second one is bloom. In this defect, the formation of dull patches occurs on the finished polished surface. It is due to the defect in paint or bad ventilation. So the third one is fading. So the gradual loss of color is known as fading, and it is mainly due to the effect of sunlight on pigments of paints. So the next one is flaking. A small portion of the painted surface is sometimes seen loose. It is known as flaking, and it is due to poor adhesion. So the next defect is flashing. Sometimes the glossy patches are seen on the painted surface. This is known as flashing, and it is mainly due to the poor workmanship, cheap paint, or weather actions. So the next is grinning. When the final coat of paint has not sufficient opacity, the background is clearly seen. This is known as grinning. So the next defect is running. The paint runs back and leaves small area of surface uncovered. This defect occurs when the surface to be painted is too smooth. So the next is sagging. When a vertical or inclined surface is too thickly painted, the defect of sagging occurs. So the next one is saponification. So the formation of soap patches on the painted surface is termed as saponification, and it is due to the chemical action of the alkalis. So the last defect is wrinkling. When a horizontal surface is too thickly painted, the defect of wrinkling becomes prominent. So next we will see about the failure of paints. So the painting job on wall or wooden members or structural steel work is not uncommon. The paint job, though an easy job, has its peculiarities of its own. At the same time, a failed paint job involves substantial expenditure by way of scraping the old paint, repairing the surface, and cost of new paint. So the main reasons of failure of a paint job are, so the first one is bad workmanship. So the paint job demands a certain degree of skill. A careless painter is in the habit of thinning paint too much so that he can save material and labor. So the layer of paint can be absent for portions of surface which are difficult to reach. So the next is conditions for painting. The job of painting should be carried out under favorable conditions only. It should be seen that dirt, dust, and moisture do not get entrapped during the process of painting. Also, very high or low temperatures and humidity during the application of paint can also seriously affect the performance and the moisture of the paints. So the next is moisture. The leakage through sanitary installations, floors, and roof, water pipes makes the painted surface moist, and in case of newly constructed building, the water used during construction activity may require time to evaporate. Whatever may be the reason, the presence of moisture accelerates the process of separating the paint layer from the surface. So next is salts and alkalis. The movement of moisture can transport salts from either internal volume of masonry or new deposit. Such salts and alkalis saponify the oil paints. So the next one is unsuitable surfaces. If the surfaces are not properly prepared or treated to receive the paint, it may lead to the failure of a paint job. So the last one is the wrong choice of paint. Depending upon the climatic condition, nature of the surface to be painted, and various other factors affecting the performance of the paint, the choice of the paint should be made. It is found that low quality paints are cheap initial cost, but the durability of such painted surfaces is very poor. So that's all about the failure of paints. So next we will see the process of painting a wall, and before that we'll be seeing some guidelines on painting. We will also see some of the components that are used in the process of painting. So the first one is brushes. So it is necessary to have good brushes for painting. The brushes should be composed of bristles and not of horse hairs. The bristle brushes are elastic and possess good paint holding capacity. The bristles are split ends and in this respect they can be distinguished from horse hairs. So it is preferable to use a round brush in painting. The new brushes should be soaked in water up to the level of bristles for a period of about 2 hours and then they should be allowed to dry for a period of about 1 hour. During painting, the brushes should be immersed in paint up to 1/3 length of the bristle and the excess paint in the brush should be removed gently by pressing the bristles against the inner surface of the pot. After the work is over, the brushes should be cleaned at once with kerosene oil. So the next one is paints. So the ready-mix paints of different makes and various brands are available in the market. They are available in different tints and can be applied in the same form as received. The ready-mix paints are normally expensive and they are to be soon used after opening the sealed container because of the fact that the volatilization of the vehicle and solvent will start take place when it is exposed to atmospheric oxygen. If the ready-mix paint is kept exposed to air for a very long duration, the solidification of the base and the pigment occurs. The procedure for preparing paint from the stiff paints are: the sufficient stiff paint is taken in a pot, the remaining stiff paint is to be covered or left with a layer of linseed oil. The linseed oil, which may be either raw or boiled or pale, is then mixed with a stiff paint by a stick. The other ingredients of a paint are taken and they are added. If a color is added, suitable pigment is added and thoroughly mixed. A second pot is taken and it is covered with a canvas which is held tightly. So the mixed paint is then allowed to pass through the canvas of a second pot. The brushes may be used for this purpose. The paint is then ready to use. The mixed paint may be prevented from drying by maintaining a thin film of linseed oil or of water at top. So the next process is called knotting. So the term knotting is used to indicate the covering or killing of all knots in the woodwork with a substance through which the resin cannot exude or come out. There are 3 methods of knotting. So they are ordinary or size knotting. This is applied in 2 coats. For the first coat, the red lead ground in water and mixed with strong glue size is used in hot condition. This coat dries in about 10 minutes and then the second coat is applied. The second coat consists of red lead ground in oil and it is thinned by boiled and turpentine. The next is patent knotting. This is also applied in 2 coats. For both the coats, the varnish prepared by dissolving shellac in methylated spirits of wine is used. And the third type of knotting is lime knotting. So the knot is covered by hot lime and it is left for 24 hours. The surface is then scraped off and then ordinary knotting is carried on. So the next one is actually stopping. So the term stopping is used to indicate the rubbing down of the surface after the first coat of paint is applied. The rubbing is done by means of pumice stone or glass paper or both. Both rubbing is commenced. The holes cracks on the surface are filled with ordinary putty made from whiting and linseed oil. The putty becomes hard when it dries. The term hard stopping is used when instead of ordinary putty, an admixture of 1/3 white lead and 2/3 ordinary putty is filled in holes and cracks. It is adopted for superior work. So the next one is coats. The paint is usually applied in 3 to 4 coats. The first coat is known as the priming coat and the second one as the undercoat and the remaining as the finishing coats. The priming coat creates a layer of film which provides adhesion to the paint with the surface. It also protects the surface from the weathering actions. The suitable material for priming coat should be used depending on the nature of the surface to be painted. The undercoat serves to provide foundation or support to the finishing coat. The surface is made even and all the irregularities of the paint are removed by this coat. The finishing coat or coats are then applied as per the requirements. So the next is spray painting. So instead of ordinary brushes, a spraying pistol may be used for the painting work. The pistol works under compressed air and the paint through the pistol on the surface forms a thin uniform layer or layer of paints on the surface. The spray painting is superior to painting by brushes. So the advantages of spray painting are the speed of the work increases considerably. An experienced painter can create artistic patterns or designs on the surface by spraying paints of different shades. It is found to be economical in material and labor. The 2 coats of spray would suffice, whereas ordinary brush paints would require 3 to 4 coats. So the mechanical equipment is used in the paint remains always in a state of motion. This ensures uniform mixing of the ingredients of the paint. So that's all about the guidelines to paint a wall and the process of painting a wall. So in today's session, we saw about the defects of paints, the failures of paints, and also the guidelines involved and the process of painting a wall. Thank you.